Hello everyone, my name is Emily and it is finally March. I'm here today to talk about all the books that I plan to read in the month of March. I don't usually do monthly TBRs. I usually either set it for the season or I just kind of pick up what I feel like at the time. But I'm doing 2 readathons this month, so I thought I would share with you the books I'm planning to read for each. I'm also going to include some books that maybe I'm not reading for readathons, but I either am already reading them or I just feel like it. First up is a book that I'm already reading, and that is Cloud Atlas by David Mitchell. I started this during Tome Topple Readathon last month. I got through about 60% of it by the end of February. Unfortunately, I was not able to actually finish it. So this book is comprised of 6 different narratives that are interlinked in some way. These narratives take place at very different times, either in the past or in the future, and also in different places like England or futuristic Korea. At first glance, they all look very different, but when you read into the narratives, you discover that they all have a very interesting connection. So far, I'm finding this a very cleverly structured work. I'm really enjoying it. Although part of me is just like, I want to know what's going on with this big connection that's going on here. This is definitely not a book that you can power through in like a couple days. I would say that it's good to give this book some time because some of the narrative voices, they're written in the vernacular of that time, so it might take some time getting through it and actually understanding everything that's going on. That's probably the reason I didn't get through the book as quickly as I anticipated. I just really had to take my time with each of the narratives, especially the middle one. But overall, I'm really enjoying it and looking forward to completing it this month. The second book is also a book I've already started, and that's Kushiel's Dart by Jacqueline Carey. This is a book that takes place in a fantasy medieval France. But now this country is called Terre d'Ange because they were graced by the presence of a group of angels and now they worship the angels. There's also a very sexual courtesan-based culture in this country. So this novel is concerned with the political life of this country, but also how that's influenced by the very sexual culture. Our main character is Phaedra, and she is being trained as a courtesan and spy. She also has a red spot in her iris called a Kushiel's Dart, and this marks her as a sort of masochist. She derives pleasure from pain. This is because the Kushiel's Dart is a mark of the god Kushiel, who apparently is very cruel. At this point, I'm still discovering how this country works and how their culture works and who the important people are. But I'm finding it very fascinating and it's a very lush read so far. The next book is more a book that I want to read if I have time for it, and that's The Snow Child by Eowyn Ivey. It's about a childless couple that lives in Alaska in the 1920s or 30s, and one day they find a child in the snow, hence The Snow Child. This is apparently a very fairy tale-like read, and I wanted to get to it earlier in the winter, but I might have to make do with the end of winter. So the first readathon I'm going to be participating in is the Femme Fatale, hosted by Jean from Jean's Bookish Thoughts. This is a readathon where we try to read female-authored fantasy. I believe this round takes place from March 8th to the 15th. I'm trying to be realistic with this TBR, especially since it overlaps with the next one, so I'm gonna keep my TBR to 2 books. The first book on my list is A Shadow Bright and Burning by Jessica Cluess. This is a book about Victorian sorcerers, and that's all you really need to say to sell a book to me. I've been wanting to read this book for years now, but have not gotten around to it, so hopefully I'll be able to get around to it this Femme Fatale. The next book on this TBR is The Merciful Crow by Margaret Owen. This is a story about a medieval society that is divided into different castes, which are associated with different birds. The main character, Phi, belongs to the Crow caste, which is one of the lower castes, and they have to do a lot of the dirty work for the people above them. This came highly recommended by Reagan from Peruse Project, so I'm looking forward to reading this one. The next readathon I'm participating in is WitchAthon. This is the round for Ostara, or the spring equinox. This round takes place from the 12th to the 19th. This does overlap with Femme Fatale, but I figured I could read some books that meet the prompts for WitchAthon, but also can qualify under Femme Fatale. This readathon has several prompts, which I guess I should pull them up. I'm looking at the readathon Discord right now. Okay, so here are the challenges for WitchAthon. Number 1, spring means rain. Pick a book that involves water. on the cover, in the title, or as part of the story. This first one was pretty easy. I picked the Starless Sea by Erin Morgenstern. There is, after all, a body of water in the title. This is a book I've been meaning to get to ever since it came out. Erin Morgenstern is one of my favorite writers, and she wrote one of my favorite fantasy novels, The Night Circus. And I've been told that if you like The Night Circus, this is also just as good. So I'm looking forward to finally reading this. Challenge number 2. Ostara is a Sabbath of rebirth, and accepting oneself as trans, including non-binary and other gender marginalizations, is often an experience of rebirth. Choose a book with a trans MC. So admittedly, I didn't have many books in my TBR that fall under this category, but I do have a Kindle edition of When the Moon Was Ours by Anna Marie McLemore, and I read online that one of the characters is trans, so now it's on my TBR. Number 3, Pan is a god of spring, wildness, and nature. Select a book where the theme of survival in nature is prominent. So for this book, I may be bending the rules, but I picked The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. This is a book based on Slavic folklore, so I think it does involve survival in a forest. It's probably survival against magical creatures, but I think that counts. Magical creatures are, after all, part of nature, so I'm counting it. I'm going to read The Bear and the Nightingale. Number 4, The Light is coming back this season. Let it lighten your load. Choose a novella. I'm probably going to read Every Heart a Doorway by Shannon McGuire. This is supposed to be about children who have been taken to fantasy worlds, but they come back and nobody believes them. But then there's somebody gathering these children together into a school that looks like a rehabilitation school, but it's really to get them to open up with each other about their experiences. The concept sounds fascinating. I've heard some mixed reviews, but this is nonetheless very well loved. Number 5, Ostara brings about color in the natural world. Choose a graphic novel. I love this prompt. For this, I'm probably going to read volume 2 of the Hellblazer series, The Devil You Know. This was a series that I've been wanting to continue for a while, and I resolved to continue this year, so that's going on my TBR. Number 6, plant a seed of some kind and begin tending to it.
If you can commit to plant parentage, try planting something new at a park or nature reserve.
So I was at a full moon ritual last month, and we were each given a mud cake or soul cake. Apparently this was part of Anglo-Saxon tradition where you would get a cake full of seeds. So it would basically be made of dirt and seeds, and you would plant it in the earth and it would grow. So we were each given one at this ritual, and we were asked to infuse it with our dreams that we want to grow this coming spring. So I'm gonna go ahead and plant that in a flower pot at some point, and that's that prompt done. Number 7, read the group book The Black God's Drums by Jelly Clark. I'm not sure I said that right. So this is apparently a novella about Orisha and New Orleans magic, and it sounds cool and diverse, and if I have time, I will get around to it. I'm not sure if I can, but I'll try. So this was it for my March TBR. Thank you very much for watching all the way to the end. If you would like to follow more of my content, please subscribe and like this video. In the meantime, you can follow me on Instagram and Goodreads and Twitter, and I will see you in my next video.